Back on Post Round on CBS Sports HQ, and due to a 2.5-hour weather delay, it is technically Post Round. Not Post Tournament just yet, as Scottie Scheffler and the final pairing have 3 holes remaining. They will close things out on Monday morning as you take a look at some of his handiwork earlier in the day. A chip-in eagle at his first par 5. Then at the 5th, another short birdie try, but it was a late iron shot at number 15. That all but sealed the deal for Scheffler, who's looking for his 4th win in his last 5 starts. Post Round is presented by the tailor-made QI10 drivers, our most forgiving family of drivers ever, and we find ourselves amongst family once again. Kyle Porter, Rick Gehman, we appreciate you guys for stopping by here, as we are not done just yet at the RBC, but I'd like to move forward and have the conversation as if we are. If something happens on Monday morning, I'll raise my hand and take full credit, but Scottie Scheffler knocking on the door of back-to-back victories, his 4th and 5 starts, 2 signature events, a Masters, a Players' Championship. Kyle Porter, maybe a big swing here, but help us put this all into context.
Yeah, you know, I was thinking about this earlier, Joe. There's so many ways to contextualize this. I'm sure Rick and I will talk about a lot of them on the First Cut podcast later tonight. But I think the best one I can give you sort of in the moment, in the micro sense, is if you played all 4 of those events, the ones that he's won, Arnold Palmer at Bay Hill, the Players' Championship, the Masters, and now the RBC Heritage, which he's on the verge of winning, and you played all 4 rounds, you made the cut at all of them, and you played a field average. You weren't great, but you weren't terrible. You'd be 1 under after those 16 rounds at those 4 events. And in those 4 tournaments, Joe, Scottie is 66 under par. So that is another way to say strokes gained. That's how much better he is than kind of the field average at these events. And Rick, we're getting into it's a Tiger-like run. I don't know how big picture we want to go with the Tiger stuff. It is a Tiger-like run, though. And to me, we're getting into the territory where it's like, okay, this is, and I was kind of writing about this earlier this year, this is best player since Tiger type stuff. I don't know that we're there yet. I still think he's kind of behind Rahm and Rory, but I mean, a couple more months of this, and he's going to have caught up to those guys just by what he's done so far this year.
Yeah, we are not literally done this event, but we are figuratively done this event. And Scottie Scheffler is gonna get another one here, and it's really special. And I'm glad KP kind of did the in the moment look. I'll zoom out a little bit. The context and the bigger picture for the stretch of golf that we might not be in, we might not know it until 6 months from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, depending on how long this reign for Scottie lasts. That's really the big difference. And that's what KP was alluding to. There have been guys who have played to a Tiger level in short spurts. Tiger did it for at least a decade, maybe 15 years. We've seen guys do it for 18 months, like Jason Day. We've seen Rory play not to a Tiger level, but to an unbelievable level for like 10 straight years. Scottie's playing to a Tiger level for basically the last 2, and we might be in the middle of that, we might be at the end of that, we might be at the start of that. That's really what is most exciting about covering this right now. When you kind of try to put it into perspective on a week-by-week basis, Joe, you know, the favorite to win the golf tournament rarely wins the golf tournament. They have something like an 8 to 10% chance of winning a golf tournament, and Scottie Scheffler has been doing it routinely over and over again, while everyone has been heaping on expectations, and while everyone has been just, you know, knowing that he's going to win the golf tournament. We're truly in a special stretch.
It certainly feels that way, and everything we've seen on course reflects that. Maybe a perfect statistical reference here is we just saw it. Last time 4 of 5 was Tiger from 07-08. Tiger then went on to win the next 3 tournaments on top of that as well. So some work to be done here for Scottie Scheffler if we want to make those long-term comparisons, but this sample size certainly feels like that. KP, I was just talking with Trevor Immelman in the tower, and sort of waxing poetic about this is one thing, but also making them stand alone is another. When someone's winning this way, they start to sort of run together. Yes, a Players is always going to feel like a Players. A Masters is going to feel like a Masters. But if he continues at this pace, we need to make sure we are not getting desensitized to the consistency and the greatness. So I guess with that, I ask you, how are you going to make sure that this one rings true in your mind at the RBC? What's sort of the hallmark of this victory?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of just the follow-up to an emotional week like the Masters. And so that's sort of what stands out to me about this tournament. You know, I came into this week having kind of no expectations for Scottie, because I felt like even though he wasn't as emotional and as spent as he was after his 2022 Masters win, any week like that where it's tough conditions, it's a grueling major championship, you're trying to hang on over the last 36, that's really, really difficult to bounce back from. I think about even his PGA championship back in 2022 at Southern Hills. He missed the cut. I think that's the only cut he's missed in like the last 4 years at a major championship. And he was just cooked from winning that Masters. And so to me, this is a little scary in that, he's sort of learned how to, not be exhausted by those emotions, not be exhausted by a grueling week at the Masters. And really, the Players Championship sticks out because he was able to kind of push away an injury and fight through an injury. He's kind of fighting through some emotional and mental fatigue. And so you're like, wow, this really adds to me to the complexity of his game, of his resume, of like, he's got not just the physical gifts, but every single facet when you look at him as a player at the highest level.
I love the challenge of trying to get these victories to stand alone. And Scottie has the gift and the curse of the vast majority of victories that he's had coming in close succession of one another. And remember when he won his first 4 times, 4 out of 6 starts in 2022, and everybody called that a heater, and he didn't really get credit for it. He was just a hot golfer. And then he went through 2023 not winning as much as everybody would expect him to. And now again, he's on this dominant streak that we are already getting confused at, like, wait, which big events did he win? All of them? Okay, sure. That's unbelievable. And if he just had 10 victories that were spaced out every 2 months for the last 2 years, it would feel a lot different than what he's doing. So it is very difficult to put each victory into perspective when by the time you're finished or getting close to being finished, putting one into perspective, he's winning another one. So it's a very difficult thing to relay this message, to relay the era, to relay just the caliber of golf that Scottie Scheffler is playing right now.
Well, we are fixated on this current stretch of winning and the T2 sandwich between, but if you go back to the start of this season, T5, T17, T6, T3, T10, win, win, T2, win, and win. All of those statistics bending the mind of Rick Gehman as he dips out and back in momentarily, fellas. Let's pivot momentarily because there are other golfers in the world and in this field that have really shined. Colin Morikawa comes to mind these last couple of weeks, rounding into form. Wyndham Clark has a fantastic Sunday. But I want to pivot to the LPGA here because Scottie Scheffler is not the most dominant force in golf right now. That honor actually belongs to Nelly Korda, who claims a major championship and a 5th consecutive victory on this day. Rick, it happened perfectly there in our rain delay where we could get our eyes on this bit of history. How do you wrap your mind around what Nelly Korda is doing right now on the LPGA Tour?
Yeah, if you like dominance and you like what Scottie Scheffler has been doing, you're going to love what Nelly Korda has been up to. She has really elevated herself to a whole different level of golfer. That should be no surprise when you start counting these victories. And to heap the accolades on Scottie for about to be on the verge of winning 4 out of 5, and then look at Nelly and say, oh yeah, she's won 5 in a row, and that includes this major championship. What I love about this, KP, is they both seem so in control of the emotional side of things. They both seem so determined yet detached from process versus outcome. These are 2 golfers who are not only at the peak of their game on the course, but also in between the ears. And the fact that this is happening at the same time, one on the men's side, one on the women's side, like, we are getting an absolute treat if you're following golf week in and week out right now.
Yeah. This very much fits into, I know you guys love it when I do these, but Nike athlete who plays TaylorMade clubs, whose sister also plays golf and has won 2 major championships, has won 4 in a row. But enough about Scottie Scheffler. Let's move on to Nelly Korda. It's extraordinary, and I thought what really stood out, Joe, about what she did on Sunday was, it got nervy, and she didn't play her best golf over the back 9, and that's the point of building a lead, right? She made 2 bogeys over her last 9 holes, which was more than she hadn't made any for the previous 27 holes dating back to Friday. So she had played very well going into that back 9, and she said, man, that was the longest 9 holes I've ever played. Like, it was just brutal to get to the finish. And I thought that was a cool moment because, one, it showed the pressure of major championship golf, whether you're on the women's side, the men's side, whatever. And two, it showed that she has some skills that are outside of just a great swing and a beautiful ball flight. It is showing some grit when it's like there's a lot of pressure, a lot of emotional pressure on you down the stretch, not just to win a major, your second major, but also to win your fifth in a row. So I was really impressed, again, by kind of the well-roundedness of Nelly as she tied up Annika Sorenstam and Nancy Lopez with her fifth straight professional win on Sunday.
Well, there is no arguing. At this current crossroads, two stand alone at the top of the sport, and I am not talking about Kyle Porter and Rick Gehman. Fellas, always a pleasure. Introducing our most forgiving family of drivers ever, the all-new QI10 drivers only from TaylorMade. Scan that QR code on your screen to learn more. Kyle Porter and Rick Gehman always continuing the conversation on the First Cut podcast. You can get it wherever you get your podcasts. Our guys taking you under the ropes and into the action each and every round, including more Scottie Scheffler dominance. Download, subscribe, and enjoy the First Cut podcast.